everybody! Welcome back to A Rather Young Author. I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about my favorite books, the ones that kind of I grew up with or that inspired me or that I can kind of see influences in my life or my work or anything like that. And I have this stack of them here, so I'm not going off of memory. And a few of them are on my Kindle, which I don't know how anybody else feels out there, if you're an author or if you are just a reader, how you feel about Kindles and e-readers, because they kind of detract from the the brick and mortar type feel of an actual paper book or hardback book. So I'm going to just kind of go in order from growing up to new things that I've started to read. And maybe you'll recognize a few that maybe inspired you too. The first and most influential book series of my life, Harry Potter, is probably, I don't want to say it is my childhood, but it was a significant portion of my childhood. The first movie came out when I was pretty young, and then of course I read the books. I was too young to actually seek out the popular bestseller young adult books, so I heard about this series through the movies, and of course I read them, and then I grew up with them. And J.K. Rowling is kind of an inspiration for me. I mentioned her in a blog post about how she was rejected by literary agencies, and so she's just a really big, or she can be a really big inspiration for people who are trying to get their work published. And obviously the Harry Potter series are the best thing known to man, and how somebody could pass that up, I don't know. Second, I kind of move into when I got older, what I really loved growing up. On my e-reader, don't get mad if you don't like them, I have a lot of Jane Austen works on here and Sherlock Holmes works on here. So as far as the classics go, Jane Austen is definitely a favorite, and the Sherlock Holmes books, even though they were written quite a while ago, they can still be so entertaining, is something I'm beginning to realize. Also, the only other book series that I'll mention that is on my Kindle are the Hunger Games books. The Hunger Games is important as far as my writing my story to possibly made into some sort of longer series or a film or something that could be kind of epic, which is what the Hunger Games is, so that was important to me. The other 4 books that I'll mention, I don't want to make this an incredibly long vlog post. The first that I'll mention is The 39 Steps. The 39 Steps is actually made into a play as well, but it's written by John Buchanan, and it is about a man who is kind of one day thinking about how boring his life is, and then the next day he is thrown into this murder mystery where he has to basically run across the Irish countryside, Scottish countryside, to escape the police who are looking for him for a murder he did not commit. And it is a short story, and it's really easy to read, and it is probably one of my favorite books ever, so I definitely suggest The 39 Steps by John Buchanan. The next book is important to me because it was pretty instrumental in me starting to write. When I was studying abroad in London last year, I had to leave early for health reasons, and one of my professors was kind enough to give me a copy of her book. It's called Elsie and Mairi Go to War, and it's about 2 women who joined the war to work in kind of emergency rescue situations, and they went from being motorcyclists and best friend motorcyclists to being kind of heroes on the war front. And so they are pretty incredible women. It's a biographical kind of approach to a really interesting war story, so I would suggest that. It's written by Diane Atkinson, who was a professor of mine in London, and reading this last summer was very important to me, sitting down and writing. I contemplated writing memoirs, or I contemplated writing biographical type stories before writing fiction, and so she was kind of the catalyst that led to the book that I've written, and so this is an important book to me within the past year. So I am so grateful that she gave that to me. My life would be completely different if she hadn't. So the next book I will talk about is written by John Green, who is a very popular author right now. He's written some amazing works. I've read both The Fault in Our Stars, and he wrote another book called An Abundance of Catherines. And those are the 2 John Green books that I've read. But while I was in London, he came for a tour or a book talk about Fault in Our Stars.
If my books were inaccessible to teen readers, then they wouldn't read them, and that doesn't seem to be a problem at the moment. Yeah, I mean, I was not, I mean, T.S. Eliot and I were doing the same thing. He was doing it much better, to be fair. You know, the interesting thing about water from a metaphorical perspective is that it is both the thing that makes life sustainable and the thing that often makes life temporary.
It's being made into a major motion picture. I had read this before I found out that they were making a movie about it, and before it grew really big, and I'm glad it did. It's just a really great story about how people who are sick, their lives should continue, and they should keep looking for love, and they should keep fostering love and doing what they love. So that is a really good book as well. And finally, the last series that I am in the middle of right now. I just finished the first one and I lent it out, so this is the second book in the series. It's called, this book is called Moons Over Soho, but the first is called Rivers of London. And it's called that in the UK and in Europe, but in the United States I think it's called Midnight Riot. I'm not really sure why there's a name change there, so I bought these while I was overseas because I was told they weren't sold here in the United States. I'm not sure if they are. If they are, it's probably called Midnight Riot. But this is about a man who is in the British police force, and he's kind of enters into the magical side of London because there is a magical side of London in these books. Some people have compared it as a kind of crisscross between Sherlock Holmes and Harry Potter. So if you like either of those series, which I've already mentioned that I do, you'll really like these books. So these are good. These are more of a PG-13 type book, just so that you know. So those are my favorite books. Those are the ones that really inspired me or moved me to start writing, or that really might have nothing to do with why I started writing, but I just love reading and I love those books. If there are any books in your life that led you to start doing whatever it is that you do, I'd love to hear about it, so please feel free to comment me or contact me as far as that goes, because I'm always looking for new book recommendations. I hope you enjoy this blog post, and please look for another coming soon. Bye!